Hello, my name is Sadrina Jackson, and we are in a CBT session today with my client, Mr. Christian. And my first question, Mr. Christian, is can you tell me a little bit what brought you here today?
Hey, thank you, Miss Jackson, for, being able to get me in. I've just been dealing with a lot of, mental anxiety, dealing with a bunch of different things. Life has just been super overwhelming. I've relocated for work, school. It's just been a lot going on, and I've really been struggling to balance it. Things have been going on with my family, personal matters. So it's just been a lot, and I've just, not been handling it well.
So, how long has it been since you've relocated?
So I relocated in January, so it's been about 2 going on 3 months now. So it
Mhm.
is, it was very quick. The turnaround was really fast. Uh, I had about 2 weeks after I received the offer letter to find an apartment, notify my
Mhm.
job, and move almost 10 hours away. So it was very stressful. Luckily, I was able to kind of figure some stuff out with that. So it's just been a lot, from a mental standpoint that I've been battling with that and kind of now still getting acclimated. We had a snowstorm when I first got here and
Mhm.
everything was closed down. So, it's like every time I take a step or two forward, I take 2 steps back.
How have these concerns been affecting you day to day? I mean, like your new move, what are your surroundings like? Do you have issues with where you're living right now?
So I would say no issues with where I live. I kind of made sure location wise, I tried to find a safer area to stay in. That was kind of a big thing for me,
Hmm.
especially moving to a state I wasn't familiar with. I wanted to make sure I ended up somewhere I was, at least safe for my peace of mind. It's with work, it's been, I guess, too early to tell. It's kind of hard to gauge, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
co-workers and the environment, only
Yeah.
being here for a few weeks. So it's just been, some days it's been quiet, some days are insanely busy. So, it's just going with the punches kind of at this point.
So how has your commute been? I mean, how far are you from your job from where you live?
So I'm about 12 minutes from my job, like there, getting there. So it's not like a terrible commute, Some
Hmm.
mornings traffic is a little bad, so it may take me about 15 minutes, but overall it's not terrible. It could definitely be worse.
Have you met any new friends? Made any new relationships on your job? I mean, how has that been for you?
Yeah, and I think that kind of has really played a huge part in my anxiety that I've been dealing with.
Hmm.
Normally I'm a person that's is super easy for me to kind of, connect with people, and this has been for me, really challenging time. Like I'm not really able to connect with my coworkers. Uh,
Hmm.
with it being kind of more of a college town, I don't really go out because, a lot of the students are there with me working at the university, trying to make sure I have my own separation from them with that. So it's just been really challenging, trying to find
Right, right.
people, like-minded people in that space. So, my anxiety has definitely, and I kind of feel like even now, just kind of talking about it is
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed. And it's just, I think that's really been my biggest issue, not being able to find like-minded people in the same space who I can talk to who aren't, students, especially with me being kind of younger like I am.
So it's been difficult for you to find that balance, right?
Yes.
So I heard you say that you were in a snowstorm. So how was that for you? Were you prepared for it?
Yes. I mean, I think it's as prepared as I could be.
Hmm.
I've never been in a situation like that. The places I've stayed when I was in undergrad and when I was in grad school running track, we're not like that. We didn't
Hmm.
get snow. And being from
Yeah.
Alabama, we definitely don't get enough snow to consider it a snowstorm.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that was a really, very nerve-wracking, I would definitely say my anxiety definitely got the best of me at the start of it. I think it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be in terms of how
Mm-hmm.
much snow we got. But I was definitely, again, I've never been in that situation. I'm by myself. I don't have any family up here. So it's like, being possibly snowed in for X amount of days was, especially how they were describing that we might get 12 inches of snow. It was
Mm.
just like,
Oh, yeah.
so much kind of thinking about, and then grocery stores were clearing out. People were buying it. You couldn't even go in there and get water. So it was a lot, but luckily everything kind of worked itself out. It wasn't too big an issue with that, but that was definitely rough, kind of when it initially was brought up on me.
Okay, so being that you described all of the situations and circumstances from the snowstorm, let's take a moment to let me know how you're feeling right now through this process.
I would say right now, I think my anxiety is we're kind of battling. I
Mm.
think kind of reliving and talking about the stuff is kind of got me on edge a little bit, but I'm trying to contain it as best I can. I'm trying to think of all the positives of the good things that have happened, but I feel
Mhm.
like again, it's like I take 2 steps forward with the good things and 5 steps back with the unknown and the bad. So,
Right. So, what I would like for you to do right now is maybe take some deep breaths and think about, you know, what your purpose was for taking this move, and look at how it has helped you. Has it helped you in a positive way, or has it helped you in a negative way? And so you outweigh your situation and the reason why you took the move. So just take a couple of breaths and then think about, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and then tell me what has been a positive outcome for the move that you made.
okay.
One more time.
Okay.
Okay.
Some
Okay.
positive outcomes I can kind of think of a better opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
The job that I took is definitely more aligned with my career aspirations overall. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really good to kind of, have that opportunity. I'm closer to my family. As me and you spoke last time, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
told you that my sister just had a second child in January, so I'm a little
Mm-hmm.
bit closer to them. Me and they've reached out to me and they're planning on coming up here towards the end of this month. So that's really exciting. That has been something I've been trying to lean heavily on to use this motivation and kind of keep me, keep my head down and stay positive with
Mm-hmm.
that. You know,
So
that being
that's
back in
good.
athletics too as well has been.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So you are setting some goals for yourself, working towards those things that you have planned out for yourself. So I'm glad that you're becoming closer to your family. So maybe, uh, do you feel that the space for you in where you are right now is becoming better? Since you've been in contact with your sister and the rest of your family.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely feel like the space itself is better. I've been able to again, me and my family we talk a good bit, but
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
a big difference between, maybe 6 or 7 hours of a drive versus 13. So, just knowing that the trip is more manageable in terms of like a day trip has definitely,
Yeah,
given me a little bit more of a peace of mind, but and vice versa, being able to go home in case something, anything happens. That's definitely been a big, thing that's put my mind at ease, because I haven't really since I left for college when I
yeah.
was 18, haven't
Hmm.
really stayed close to my family outside of me being in Georgia for 2 years for school. I haven't really stayed close to them. So kind of being in a familiar distance because when I was in North Carolina, this was about the same distance that I
Mm-hmm.
was from them.
Mm-hmm.
So again, kind of having that familiarity, not per se with the drive itself, but just the distance amount. Knowing, okay, like I can make this trip within a day. Like this is a very realistic trip I can, make and kind of get
Mm-hmm.
there if I
Mm-hmm.
need to. So I think that's been really good for me.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. So let me ask you a question. Have you been able to set some things for yourself to do, like to some self-care, like maybe once or twice a week doing something for yourself? Have you set anything out since you've been where you are to do for yourself?
Yeah, and it's funny you asked that because I just haven't put them in play yet. It's been kind of this position. I've been so focused on making sure I'm doing everything right at work and trying to get everything situated with my apartment, like trying to
Mm-hmm.
make sure everything is
Mm-hmm.
in place.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a real chance to start to practice the self-care help that I am trying to put in place. One thing I do kind of consistently do, but I mean, to me, it's not self-care. This kind of been just something that's been instilled in me from since I was in high school, and that's going to the gym. I really do try to stay consistent with that. But even
Okay.
then, I've had some days where it's been really tough to try to go from a motivational standpoint of, overstressing myself, worrying about so many different things. But
Mm-hmm.
a goal that I did set for myself is I want to at least once a week or every 2 weeks kind of go to dinner or do some
Mm-hmm.
type of activity. And the other task that I'm really kind of leaning on trying to do is I want to try doing different themes and sessions with workouts. So I recently
Okay.
kind of really start looking and trying to go to a Pilates class.
Okay.
Just a different type of stimulant for the mind. So that is
Right.
something I've
Right.
been, looking into, and I feel like I keep saying I want to do it, I want to do it, and just haven't made the time for it for myself. So. I think I think to your point, I have stuff that
Mm-hmm.
I've considered. I just haven't been very diligent with putting it in motion.
Okay, so I would like to challenge you, you know, uh, maybe starting off with at least, to start at least twice a month doing something for yourself to, to try to decrease the anxiety, and just help you to be mindful of, the decisions that you made, where you are right now, and it's all for the better of you, right? So, and then you want to possibly, maybe create a workplace friendship with maybe just one person. Just try, just to see how far you can, the relationship doesn't necessarily have to be companionship, but just, that coworker that you have, where you bounce things off of, and, someone to support you and encourage you, but I'm glad that you've gotten closer to your family because it appears that in all that you've stated, family is very important for you, right? So it's important that you stay connected to the family, that will help ease things for you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm just nervous about the coworker aspect. At
Yeah.
my previous job, I thought I had some coworkers who I had kind of built a relationship with, and it
Okay.
kind of just came back to bite me. And I just don't want that situation to happen again, especially here. I
Mhm.
plan on staying here for a long time. So I think I'm self-sabotaging myself partially.
Okay.
I'm kind of scared to extend myself because I don't want it to be that type of repeat situation.
Okay. Understood. Understood. So, hey, that we don't want to go that far yet then, since you've already had that experience. We don't want to create an uncomfortable situation for you, moving forward. So maybe you can journal, when especially when your anxiety kicks in, just to help you through, uh, write about it. That may help to help you feel more comfortable in your surroundings and feel better about yourself. So, how is the weather there right now?
It's good. Arkansas is one of those states where you either get rain or the sun. So we are
Hmm.
in that weird period where you get both
Okay.
sunny,
Okay.
sunny rain. So
Right. Okay. Understood. Understood. Well, is there anything else that you have that you would like to discuss today?
no, ma'am. I think I'm good. I think you made some really good points, and I really need to work on prioritizing myself now that things have calmed down and got a little bit settled. So I appreciate this.
Good. I'm glad that you're feeling better. How is your anxiety right now? Are you feeling better?
I think the breathing exercises really helped. I've calmed down a lot. So thank you again for that as well.
All right. Thank you. And I thank you for coming into this session today and being very transparent and open. So I
Yes,
thank you. All right. And maybe we can schedule for another session, maybe 2 weeks from now. How would you like that?
yes, I would enjoy that.
Okay. But if you need me in between, you can always send me a message or send me an email. Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chris Hutchins, and today we are here with my client, Miss Sadrina Jackson. How are you doing today?
Okay. I'm really okay. I'm just okay today.
I understand. Well, I want to say first, thank you for meeting with me today. I want to take a moment and notice how are you feeling right now in this moment?
I'm feeling disappointed. Um, yeah, because I got some news from the doctor, and I'm having to step away from doing sports, which I really love, and it's really affecting me. And I'm trying to figure out why. Trying to figure out why I have to stop what I love doing.
Mhm.
It's really disturbing to me. And let me turn my phone down because I don't want to be interrupted anymore.
No, yeah, you're fine.
But
So, kind of, as you said that, can you kind of tell me what emotions you feel as you kind of discuss it?
I'm feeling disappointed. I'm feeling angry. Uh, I'm feeling uh, lost. I'm feeling let down. Like I let myself down. I'm feeling disappointed in myself. You know, uh, and then now I'm letting other people down because I can no longer do the things that I used to do. You know, and we are in the playoffs, man, and I can't play.
Hmm.
And I'm mad about that. I'm mad,
Yeah. And,
really
as a
mad
former
about that.
athlete myself, I completely understand where you're coming from. It's tough dealing with that, especially being pulled away from your sport, especially at, such a delicate time like starting the playoffs and, you're not being able to participate. So,
Yeah.
I kind of want to switch the kind of center point of the conversation and let's talk about your future outside of sports. What do you notice happening in your body right now?
Uh, heart palpitations. Um, always really tired. Um, always sleepy. Every chance I get, I need to lay. I want to lay down. Feeling nauseous. Just um, I don't know. There's a lot of things. I'm on some more medication They've added new medications to my regimen, and I get nervous about that, because I don't want to keep having to add medications to the medications that I already have. I was working on like decreasing my medications, and now here I am. Man, I'm having to take more. I don't like that. I don't like that. It's very irritating to me,
Okay.
so.
So let's kind of stay in the moment right now with the
Mhm.
feelings you have. What do you think the feelings you or like your body is kind of displaying? What do you feel like it's trying to tell you
um, to fight. Um,
in a good or bad way?
um, in a little bit of both,
Hmm.
yeah, and a little bit of both, but also my anxiety is like, as I'm talking about it, my anxiety is really high, just inside, not outside. And then I'm becoming emotional the more I talk about it, because it's like reality is setting in. At this point, I no longer can do the things that I love to do.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to like redirect my actions, and what I'm doing. And it's like I always thought that I would be able to do these things, and now it's like I can't. So I really don't know what to do with myself. I'm kind of lost right now,
Yeah, and I think, that's a common thing. I don't want you to feel like you're the first and will be the last person to deal with this. As athletes, we tend to, somewhat become invincible. And we forget that, at some point in time, it's going to come to an end for all of us. We've seen athletes
Yeah.
at the highest level,
Hmm.
such as Michael Jordan, all athletes, sometimes you get to a point where it's, that is the end is the end. And it's about how do we set ourselves up for life outside of that and move forward while continuing to progress as a person. So I think,
Yeah.
the anxiety and the chest tightness you're experiencing is kind of in relation to you not feeling like you know what's next. And that's not a bad
Hmm.
thing, but I think
Okay.
the biggest thing we need to work on is figuring out what is next and what brings you happiness and joy outside of your sports. So I think that is going to be some homework that I'm going to leave with you to work on
Okay.
for our next session.
Okay.
I want you to be able to tell me some things that you enjoy and bring you happiness and
Okay.
how we can kind of tailor that into your life. So,
Okay.
but the next thing I want us to work on currently, I want us to work on this exercise that I call the empty chair exercise. So,
Okay.
imagine the version of yourself who identifies as an athlete is sitting in an empty chair across from you. What
Hmm.
would you say to that version of yourself?
Um, Girl, I think you need to slow down, in what you're doing, and pay attention to your body. Don't ignore it and say that as long as I'm doing something positive, everything is okay. You know, I think you need to get yourself checked out more often than you normally have. I think that's all. Maybe. I don't know.
And those are some really good points you brought up to yourself. Now,
Yeah.
what I want you to do is to
Mhm.
switch chairs and respond as that version of yourself, the non-athlete.
I don't have time. I'm involved in sports. I when I'm not doing my sports, I'm doing my homework. I don't have time. And then I got all these people watching me. I gotta make sure that I'm on point and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I have people looking up to me and I gotta make them happy, you know? So I don't have time to go to the doctor all the time like that. That's the way
So,
I felt sometimes too.
so based off of both of those responses,
Hmm.
what did you notice about yourself while doing that exercise from both aspects, as the athlete and the non-athlete?
Um, Trying to so for the non-athlete, um, showing a sense of telling myself that I shouldn't ignore what I've been going through. And the athlete, I was making excuses, you know, for what some things that I really need to do, that everybody else was more important than myself. So that's some things that I noticed. Yeah, in the exercise.
Do you feel like, to the point you made of everybody else was more important, do you think that kind of came to you from being in athletics or kind of personal upbringing? Do you think there's a reason you kind of feel that way?
I think that that's from personal upbringing. My grandmother was that way. Uh, my mother, you know, is that way. Yeah, they've always looked out for everybody, made sure everybody else was okay, and then uh, in the end, there were limited people, that were concerned or cared about what was going on with them.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I believe that's from my upbringing. Yeah, because
So,
my grandmother was a cook, and so
okay.
she cooked for everybody, made sure
Hmm.
everybody was happy with a meal. Yeah.
That made me think of a really good quote, and that'll segue into my next question. The cook makes sure everybody is good, but did the cook eat? You know?
No.
So, the biggest thing I think is, sometimes, especially being in sports, we get so caught up in making sure that we are appeasing everybody, whether it's our coaches, the
Hmm.
fans, our
Yeah.
peers, our teammates, our parents, for all the
Yeah.
sacrifices they made to get there.
Right.
So it's so many multitudes and layers of things that we seek, and we kind of, like as you expressed, we kind of forget about ourselves to an extent.
Hmm.
We become the
Yeah.
bottom of the barrel. And not that it's intentional, but it's tends to us kind of losing our identity outside of our sport because we put so
Hmm.
much time, effort, and dedication. The blood, sweat, and tears, you know, is a real thing that you put into whatever craft that you're partaking in. So, it's hard to switch, try to switch back and forth between it. But
Right.
I
Yeah.
think the first step is acknowledging it and
Hmm.
saying, I want to, form an identity outside of my sport. So
Right.
to share some light with you, to show some relatability, I had a similar situation happen to me while I was in college, my junior year,
Hmm.
and I was removed from sports for the first time in my entire career. And it was one of the most difficult times that I ever went through. Not because, I was hurt, that happens, that comes and goes with sports, but it was the first time I had to genuinely look at myself and say, well, you're not an athlete. Who and what are you? So I think that is, it's tough. It is not easy. I had many nights where I cried.
Hmm.
I don't know your religious state, but
Oh, wow.
I spoke to God about it. I asked a lot of questions trying to gain clarity. And sometimes clarity is needed through separation, and I think it's, easier said than done, of course. But
Yeah.
sometimes we do need to take a step back from what we're doing to be able to really gain clarity on the situation. So, uh, from what I'm hearing is it sounds like a part of you feels like you're defined by your sport, but another part of you wants to grow beyond that identity, but you
Yeah.
just don't know the steps of
Yes.
how.
Right.
So I think the first step, of course, is becoming aware of those different parts of yourself and acknowledging
Okay.
and taking this proper steps towards personal growth. So,
Okay.
like I said, I wanna send you home with some homework, but
Okay.
if you have any now that you think or some things that you enjoy that
Okay.
bring you joy outside of your sport, I would love to go over a few of them now.
Yeah, there's some things that I like doing. I like going, I love the beach.
Hmm.
Uh, I love like walking. Um, I love, I mean, I really do love helping others. So, maybe I can start, I don't know, like doing some volunteer work just to start off, find something that I really like doing as far as volunteering. And then maybe I can do that just to fulfill some of my downtime.
Hmm.
Because right now that I'm not, that I can't, I I really have a lot of free time. So, you know, but I do go to church. So, um, and maybe I start participating in church more, in just some different things to do. So, yeah, I think I'll
I
start
think,
there.
and I think to your point, filling that void of that free time definitely will keep your mind occupied. It definitely, in regards to your anxiety that you're dealing with, I think that'll help, alleviate that in some capacities, keeping your
Mhm.
mind occupied with different things, especially things you enjoy, walking is something you can do, add that to your daily regimen. If it's not
Okay.
every day, every other day, kind of incorporating that to kind of,
Hmm. Hmm.
give you something to take your mind off of that. And I think, to the point you made, partaking in community service is so yeah. Miss Jackson, I was glad to be able to speak with you today. Again, I definitely want you to kind of
Thank you. Thank you
take
so
that.
much.
Yes, of course. I want you to kind of think of some other things that you enjoy and kind of how you
Okay.
can keep that time occupied. And, what's the next step for you outside of athletics?
Okay.
I would love for us to meet
Okay.
again here in 2 weeks.
All right.
Of course, if you need anything in between, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Of
It
course.
was good to see you. Thank you.
It was good to see you. Have a good one.
Okay.